Hi guys, I'm Kelly with Mid-Peninsula Moms Blog, and today I'm here again with our contributing writer and sleep expert, Dr. Sarah Mitchell from Helping Babies Sleep, and we are talking about sleep training. Everyone take a deep breath. We're going to be talking about the myths and the different types of methods. I think this is the scariest thing for parents.
It is.
Right?
Absolutely. The anxiety leading up to sleep training is worse than actually implementing your sleep training
Right.
plan. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about it today and hopefully kind of make some of you guys relax. We do have some questions that were sent in to us and feel free to ask them live. So let's get started. We're going to start with the myths, right?
Right.
Okay.
The myths. The number one myth is keep kids asleep when they're tired.
Yes.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They do not. Sleeping like a baby, that term really only applies to the first couple of months when they kind of just are on that constant repeat of waking, eating, falling back asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, you really have to decide when it's time for them to be sleeping. It's your job to start the bedtime routine or the nap time routine and make sleep happen.
And help them.
And help them along.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in the newborn stage or those first 3 months, it's our job to put them to sleep until we decide that what we're doing just isn't working for the family anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we need to think about another trajectory to work on.
I feel like when my kids are overtired, they don't sleep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And the signs of being overtired are taking a long time to fall asleep, frequent night waking, and early morning wake ups, and in general being fussy during the day.
Okay.
So those are the signs of being overtired.
That's what you want to look for.
Yeah.
Okay. Myth number 2.
If you keep your kids up later, they will sleep better. So I think everyone has done this.
Or sleep in later too,
or sleep
right?
in later, yeah. And there's a funny old adage that goes, kids who go to bed early wake up early, and kids who go to bed late wake up early. So kids wake up early in general, right? And I did this myself. I totally remember my son being like 2 months old and my husband sitting there rocking him or playing with him in the living room while I went to bed. So we were keeping up later so that he would sleep longer, which is the exact wrong thing to do because he gets overtired and then it's harder for him to fall asleep and stay asleep. So that's...
And then we're back to number 1.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So you want to put them down early because they're going to get up early.
Yes. So you want to give them more sleep so they're at least they're happy when they wake up and then they're less fussy during the day too.
Okay. Number 3.
Naps in motion aren't as good as naps in the crib.
Okay.
I love this one, right?
That's really interesting. Yeah.
I know. So we've all heard that naps on the go aren't as good. And I've thought about this for the longest time. There's no evidence. There's no studies to show this. And I think why it's come about is that, you know, after the 4-month sleep regression, when your child wakes up to the world around them, they're more distracted when they're in the stroller. So maybe you get a 45-minute nap.
It's shorter.
Yeah, it's shorter. He or she surfaces from the sleep cycle and then is distracted by their environments. They don't sleep longer. Whereas in the crib, if they surface, ideally they roll back over into
there's nothing there to distract them. Same thing in the car, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's still okay.
It's still okay. It just might be shorter. And
that's okay.
And that's okay.
Especially too, if it's a second or third child, sometimes that's the best you can do. And that's okay.
It's better than no nap for sure.
Right. Okay. It's hard to transfer too. So in my mind, like when my kids were little, I mean, my second son is still little. I tried to avoid sleeping in motion because I was afraid of transferring. You know, some kids can transfer and some kids don't.
No, I would say most kids don't transfer very well after about 4 to 5 months.
But you just do what you
you just keep driving around for 45 minutes to get that
around your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
I know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 4.
Number 4 is that starting solids will help your baby sleep better.
I thought that was true.
So I just did a blog post on this and I consulted with a pediatrician and sleep doctor. And, you know, in general, yes, the composition of your diet can affect your nighttime sleep. But also in general, starting solids will not give you a full night's sleep. That's not going to be the magic bullet. It's a combination of setting your child up for success with appropriate sleep timing, and then for your child to have self-soothing skills.
Okay, so it might be a piece of the puzzle, but it is not the entire.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And, you know, we talk about formula versus breast milk. Like, yes, formula-fed kids in general sleep through the night earlier than a breastfed baby, but there's multiple reasons for that. One of them being that it takes longer to to make a bottle of formula in the middle of the night than it does to whip out a boob. And so there's that delayed gratification for the child.
Interesting. Okay.
And the second one is that mom who's formula feeding or even bottle feeding with breast milk has a really good, has a lot of confidence of how many ounces her child's getting through the day. And she's has less self-doubt in the night that it's hunger waking her child up.
Right.
So she can use her other tools. In her
We've talked about this before. Yeah. You just don't know how much they're getting.
No,
you have no way of measuring that. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So the last myth, and then we'll get into types of message, and we'll look to see if we have some questions too. What's the last myth?
The last myth is that by 6 months, your child should be sleeping through the night.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's not true.
So on average, if you're exclusively breastfed, your child won't sleep 11 to 12 hours. That's what we're talking about with sleeping through the night, because there's lots of different definitions out there. Is it 6 hours? Is it 11 hours? Is that with feeds or without feeds?
So it's 12 hours is what you consider sleeping through
11,
the night?
yeah.
11, okay.
12 hours. And most exclusively breastfed kids won't do that stretch until 8 or 9 months on average. Yes, formula may make that a little bit earlier, but I would say for the average kid at 6 months, the average child probably still has one night feed at this age.
At 6 months.
Breastfed.
On average.
Yeah. Formula, you maybe be a little bit earlier than that, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have, oh, hello. Okay. So let's talk about some methods of sleep training and sleep training in general.
Yeah. So what do you think when you hear sleep training?
I think of a terrible situation of my child screaming and me standing outside the door crying. I've done that. That is what I think about. And I think that's what most people think about, right? Like how horrible it is and the guilt. You feel so guilty. Even though I knew I was trying to help my son and to teach him and have good habits for him, I felt so guilty to hear him cry. We only had to sleep train, and we should say sleep teach.
Right.
Hashtag sleep teach. It just sounds so much better. But we only had to do it with my first son. My second son, it was a breeze. Kids are so different. But it was really scary. So when you say that word, like I have flashbacks to that really challenging time.
Well, there's a great episode on a show called The Letdown right now on Netflix, where they're doing sleep training, and it's exactly that. The husband and wife standing in the hallway, listening to their child cry, and then breaking down, and frustration and marital tension and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Because this is the first time that you have maybe not giving your child exactly what they want.
Yeah, you have to stand your ground.
Time. Yeah, it's the first time. And, veteran parents would know there's going to be many more situations like that as you get into the toddler years.
But you're right, because they're younger. So it's really that first time that you have to really stand your ground.
Yeah. And so for me, sleep training is one, I think there's a misconception that it's just, closing the door and not going back in.
Right.
Or just picking a technique. But sleep training to me is so much more than that. It's all about knowing and learning what is age appropriate for your child in terms of night feeds and awake windows, how long they can stay awake.
Okay.
And then picking a technique for how you're going to respond to your child's frustration that they're not getting what they've been kind of trained to get over the last few months and what they want.
Okay.
And let's be clear too, when we're talking about sleep training in this conversation, we're talking with babies older than 4 months.
Okay, so that was actually one of my questions, and I think someone asked this, and we can go back to this in a little bit, is when do you start sleep training? So most of the time you start around 4 months?
4 months or later. So at 4 months, you have the 4-month sleep regression, and that's related to object permanence.
Right.
That your child realizes that you exist even though he or she can't see you. And so she starts calling for you more in the night.
Looking for you.
Yeah,
right.
Testing it. So you want to give her the opportunity to test that, go through that developmental leap, and establish that mom always does come back, right? And then when is the best time to do sleep training? It's when you feel like you can't go on the way you have been going on.
When what you're doing is not working
for you
anymore.
Right?
Right.
There's no, you don't have to sleep train, right? It's just when you feel like I'm so tired that this can't be healthy for me or for you. And
something needs to change.
Sleep, and something needs to change. Usually you're kind of at the end of the rope. You've tried maybe a couple things, or something that you heard at the play group.
Right.
And without
it's not working
for you anymore. But after 4 months, because at 4 months, in general, kids start to roll. So you want to get them out of the swaddle by that age. And also that Moro reflex, that startle reflex where their arms go out and come back in, that should have disappeared by that point. So it's easier to get them out of the swaddle.
Makes me, when you say swaddle, my son used to do the one arm Like he would get one arm. I haven't thought about that in so long. It's so funny, but they would be so swaddled, like so cute and swaddled. My son would just like put out one arm and he literally just sleep with it on his head like this. The rest of the body was still so swaddled. I don't even know how he got that out, but we had to stop swaddling him really early because I was afraid. I was like, it's not as tight. It's going to come undone.
Yeah.
That one arm. Anyway, I haven't thought about that in forever. Okay. So let's talk about, you said there were 2 reasons that kids are challenged sleepers.
Yeah, so there's 2 reasons. And those 2 reasons are, one, most of the kids that I see are generally overtired. They kind of have a sleep debt because they've either been waking up so much through the night, or your nap timing has maybe been off, or their naps are too short and they're just not getting enough sleep.
Like me.
They should be getting. Kind of like you. Well, sometimes we joke that we don't sleep train babies, we sleep train parents.
Right, exactly.
Right?
I'm like, I'm a little sleep deprived. That sounds like me.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're overtired. And this goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. Kids that are overtired don't sleep well.
Right. They take longer to fall asleep, and then they're more risk of night waking and early morning wake ups.
Okay.
Overtired. Okay. And then the second reason they don't sleep well is they have a sleep crutch. And a sleep crutch is something external that your child needs to help them relax into sleep. So maybe there's 3 main categories of touch, motion, and sucking.
Okay.
Right? Sucking from a bottle, a pacifier, a breast, motion of, stroller, car seat, and touch laying beside you. Have you ever noticed that you can lie beside your child and they'll have this mega long nap, but as soon as you walk away, they wake up. It's like they know, they can feel you.
Right.
So those are something external that helps them relax into sleep. And sometimes they've been trained, unknowingly we train them. I did the exact same thing, that, that's what sleep looks like.
And then you have to break that.
And then you have to break that. And then you get into the older months and that's what they prefer, right? And so they hold you to that. And so sleep training is taking away that sleep crutch so that they can develop some sort of self-soothing skill.
Right.
And a self-soothing skill is something like sucking a thumb, sleeping on their stomach in a certain
like
position,
a levy.
having a levy. The most common one I see is touch, like where they stroke material through their finger, like the satin part or the tag of a little levy are very popular things. So that's what you're doing when you're sleep training. You're taking something away so that they can develop a new skill, so that when they wake up in the night, just like all humans do, they don't have to cry for you to come put them back to sleep. They can have that skill to relax them back.
They can use those skills. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we're going to talk about the methods
Yes, we'll do
of sleep training. Do we have any questions yet? Not quite yet.
No,
okay.
Not yet.
Feel free to ask us. We're talking about sleep training.
So sleep training basically is what we just talked about, and the different techniques exist on a continuum. So often I hear cry it out, and it kind of drives me crazy because cry it out, everyone has such different definitions of what that means. So to me, cry it out means extinction. Close the door and don't go back in. Okay. I'm not a big fan of that one. I kind of think if I was that child, I'd like to be acknowledged. So I don't do that. But that's on one end of it. Okay. And then on the very other end of it, you have like the no cry sleep solution with Elizabeth Pantley, where it's fading. So you're rocking, but you're trying not to rock as long and then put them down. Or they've got a pacifier and you're trying to pull it out just before they're asleep. And that type of technique I find works great for newborns if you're working on skills, but after 4 months, it just like requires an infinite amount of time and patience that most people who are tired and exhausted and overwhelmed just don't have. Okay. But those are the 2 ends of things. So then in between them, then from there, you have kind of like the attended method where you're sitting beside your child while they're,
I've heard of the one where you put your hand on their back and then you let go, but you're still physically standing there, and then you like take a step back and then you sit in the chair in the room, and then you like eventually make your way
that's
out.
The gist of it. That's the gist of it. And then from there, you have kind of the interval checks, like check and console, or just general interval checks where you leave and then come back.
Yeah, that's what we did actually. Some version of that where we would wait a certain amount of time, and then we'd come in and say, it's okay, mommy's still here. And then you leave and you increase the time or decrease the time. I can't remember. I think you increase the time.
Well, with Ferber, the next one up, each night you increase the
so that's what it was.
When the intervals start. So the first night you go check on them at 3 minutes, but the second night you don't go in until 5 minutes, and then
that's what we did.
It goes along. Yeah, and those are very, very effective methods.
So there's this huge spectrum, and you have to find what works for you.
Exactly. And so you would take into consideration where your child's been sleeping. So like a baby who's been co-sleeping, you probably wouldn't want to leave the room on them because they're so used to having someone there already. Toddlers especially, the interval checks can maybe drive them nuts, whereas an attended method might work better. So your child's temperament is huge. Your parenting philosophy and style, what you've been doing already, and your child's age are all factors
you have to take all that
into consideration.
Okay.
Yeah, but in general, any one of them will work if you have the patience to see it through. And most people, they give up too soon in general.
Yeah. Well, because it's hard and it does take a little bit of time.
It is hard.
And I think it's really like one of the questions that we had, and again, we can talk about this in a minute, is when do you know you need help? You know, it's like you're trying something and then you're like, wait, well, how long do I need to give this to really see if it's working?
When do you get help?
Do you want to answer it now or do you want to do it later? It's one of the ones that came in.
When do you get help? So, okay, it was how do I know if my sleep training isn't working?
Yeah, kind of like at what point do you,
help? I think there's two ways to think about when do I get help.
Yeah,
one
she
is
said,
for mom.
how do I know if my sleep training isn't working? Yeah.
Okay. One is for the mom.
Right.
So, you know, are you someone that's just feeling completely overwhelmed by all the different suggestions on the internet and you just want to be...
Don't Google.
You just want to have someone tell you what to do from the beginning and guide you through it. That's your personality. Go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. We all got help with breastfeeding and labor and delivery classes. There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help.
Okay.
I've used parent coaches with my older kids all the time now because parenting is not innate.
Right. It's hard.
A skill that we need to learn.
And it's okay to ask for help.
It's okay to ask for help.
But that's hard sometimes.
It is because you see other people doing the exact same thing as you, but it's working for them. And why is that? Why can't you do that?
Right.
And that goes back to just, you know, is there nuances in your messaging or is it your child's temperament? Maybe the technique you chose isn't the best one for them.
Yes.
That's where someone with experience with working with hundreds of kids could help you.
Right.
And then the other reason maybe to seek out help, it's if you're on, you know, the fourth or fifth night and they're still crying for a significant amount of time, like an hour, that would be a red flag for me.
Something's not
not quite right there.
Okay.
You know, these sleep training, you know, the packages are generally like 2 weeks. Most kids are well on their way. You should be seeing progress.
So if you're not seeing progress in 2 weeks, then you should think about
if you're not seeing progress in like by 5 days, something's amiss.
Something's not right. Okay. Yeah. So that's good to know. Okay. So let's talk about the different methods.
But we did that already. That was the no cry sleep solution. The
got it.
one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the spectrum. Okay. Yeah. So the no cry sleep solution, the attended methods, that's when you're kind of there.
Yeah.
The checks, the Ferber, that's what I think I did. What's the close the door? Tell me what that one is.
Well,
again.
Close the door is the idea of extinction, where you close the door and you just don't go back in, and you do it all in one night, and they cry for a certain amount of time, and then it's done. Yeah, and I don't believe in that because I feel like children should be acknowledged and heard, and I just don't like that. Okay. Not that that might be cool for you, but it's just not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a question that we got. I don't want to sleep train. I don't believe in it. A lot of people don't believe in it. Mm-hmm. My son is 2 years old and still needs me to fall asleep and wakes up multiple times a night needing me. Will my child eventually grow out of this on his own? Mm-hmm. So like if you don't sleep train because you don't believe in it and then your child's 2, like will this eventually just kind of work its way out?
Yeah. So it depends. It depends on your child's temperament. Mm-hmm. And it depends on your threshold, because if he's waking up, multiple times a night and he needs her to fall back to sleep, that means she's getting up that many times per night.
Right.
So that's exhausting.
Especially
if you're a working mom, that's really exhausting.
Yeah.
So cost, benefit, will they grow out of it? They might.
Okay.
But it would be ages 3 to 4 when they have the sense of reason and you can sit them down.
Okay. So she might still have like another year.
She might have another year of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to weigh too, like, is this healthy for my child? If you look at your child, and if a 2-year-old is waking multiple times a night, they're not waking up rested in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then they're cranky and fussy all day. I don't know. It's your choice, right? To decide what you think is best for your family.
Okay. We talked about this. How do I know if my sleep training isn't working? When is the best time to start sleep training? We kind of talked about that. You said 4 months. This is interesting. Does weight matter?
Yeah, because you can read a lot of things. Like by the time your child is 3 months and 12 pounds, they can sleep through the night. I particularly don't follow any of those because I don't start sleep training until 4 months, and most kids are already past that weight anyway.
Okay.
I think they need to go through the 4-month sleep regression where they call for you and you keep returning.
So after that,
I'm more age than weight.
Okay, so that's good to know because there is a lot of stuff out there about weight.
I just like the 3. There's 12 weeks. 12 weeks to 12 hours. So by the time they're 12 weeks, they should be sleeping
12 hours.
And I just think, is that really necessary? And what does that do for the breastfeeding mom? Because as soon as you start taking out night feeds, then that will decrease your milk supply. Mm-hmm. And it's natural that at that age, kids are still eating like twice a night in general if they're breastfed. If they're formula fed, yes, that's a different conversation. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My daughter was sleep trained and now I love this. And now she learned to stand. Mm-hmm. My son did this. Actually, both of my kids did this.
Yeah, so painful.
We sleep trained my first son and then they learn a new skill. Talking is one that was a little bit of a challenge where they want to stay up and chit chat for a little while. But standing was huge. Mm-hmm. And you really have to kind of do a modified sleep training all over again, I feel like, right?
In a way, the best thing you could do is sleep train them before that 9 to 10 month when they start to stand, so that that they have the self-soothing skills to put themselves down. So it's not your job to put this child to sleep, because that's the problem. If you're still nursing or rocking or whatever to sleep when they're going through these leaps, you have to stay awake and wait for them to tire themselves out of standing before you can put them back down.
So the idea would be that hopefully you would sleep train before, which it says she did. My daughter was sleep trained and now she's learning to stand. How do I retrain her? So the idea is you don't really have to do much. You let her stand, and then eventually she'll sit down and soothe herself back to sleep.
She's going to have to wear herself out. She's going through a developmental leap. She has to have practice doing this skill. And so maybe you go in and give a little sleep reminder and lie her down, and she'll pop right back up. But you've made the message that it's sleeping time. The room is still dark.
Right.
And then I would go and try and put a pillow over my head so that I can get some sleep.
Right.
Because she just has to work through this. That's the truth. Any of these sleep regressions should be called sleep progressions, because your child's progressing into another stage, and that's why this is happening.
That's an interesting way to think about it in a positive way instead of like a negative way. Like, oh, we're going through a sleep regression.
Yeah.
Like, we're moving. She's learning something.
Exactly.
And also, just as like a personal experience, it doesn't last very long. So these kind of phases, learning how to stand, it was like a week where I was like, oh, what is happening? But then it's over.
Then it's over. And sleep sacks help too, right? To limit the mobility in the crib.
Yeah. We never did sleep sacks. But that would help too. Okay. Can I sleep train during a leap? So I think this is referring to the Wonder Weeks books.
Right. Yeah.
And you were just saying like these developmental leaps.
Exactly.
Can you do it in the middle of something, or should you wait? I know you said wait till after the sleep regression, but what about these leaps?
The 4-month sleep regression, I would wait, but all the other ones, it's a choice, right? Like the pros, cons, like how much is she already waking up?
Right.
That, you just really need to change things now.
Okay.
So there's always something.
Should we explain Wonder Weeks? Do you guys know the book Wonder Weeks?
Wonder Weeks is a great resource.
Yeah.
It's a book that outlines your child's development by weeks, and it can be helpful.
Yeah. The leaps are basically when something is developmentally changing, and lots of things can change during a leap. So you kind of just have to see if you want to do it and kind of roll with it. Okay. And there's actually a lot. And it's actually probably hard to avoid one, right?
This is the thing. It's extremely hard to avoid it. So if you'd started already, I would just go through and offer more comfort is the trick, right? To acknowledge, offer more comfort, give them space. So
people are saying hi.
Yeah.
How long should you wait before you go back in?
Oh, that's a very detailed sleep training question.
So this would be the Ferber, is that right?
Ferber or the interval method, and I don't want to answer that because it depends on what night you're on, and like it's not really just a simple question.
Right. So you kind of have to get your own little routine and follow.
Okay. Comfortable with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Great.
All right. Is it best to wean at night and sleep train all at once for a 9-month-old? Okay, so this person is weaning. I'm assuming it's breastfeeding, right? And wean at night and then sleep train all at one time for the 9-month-old.
So if a 9-month-old, if she's got 3 meals and 2 snacks through the day and regular breastfeeds, then she has the capability probably to sleep the 11 to 12 hours. Okay. But there's ways you can do it where perhaps you wean slowly. Depends how much she's been eating through the night. If she's been eating 3 times, it would be kind of hard on her to go cold turkey.
Right. So you kind of have to go a little bit slower, maybe.
Yeah. We'd set her up on a plan that's more gradual.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Do we have any other questions?
I think
These are the ones that were sent in. Okay, so I just want to get a little cheesy here for a second. But sleep training is a really sensitive topic. And if you haven't found this already, I promise you will. Your neighbors and your friends and your sisters and family members, everyone is going to do this differently. And so if someone is doing something that's completely backwards than what you're doing, that's okay. And you should all really support each other because it's really hard to be a mom. And I feel like sleep training is really scary. And you do compare yourself to other people, even though you shouldn't. We do. Like you said earlier, like, why isn't this is working for them? Why isn't it working for me? Kids are so different. And so like I said, I'm getting a little cheesy here, but I think that you really should just accept what other people are doing, whether you believe in it, whether you don't believe in it. Everyone's trying to do the best for their kid, and everyone's trying to do what they think is best. And so I think that's really important to remember, especially on a topic like sleep training?
Well, it's very easy as a parent with a young child to take what someone else is doing as a criticism, if it's different than yours, as a criticism of the way that you're doing it. But it's not. There's many different ways to raise your child.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's really important, and it's okay to ask for help, like we said earlier. So if something is not working, ask for help.
Yes. Please reach out. I have an online class
that
can teach you everything that you need to know about sleep teaching your toddler.
Hashtag sleep teaching.
Not sleep training, sleep teaching, because that's what we're actually doing.
It sounds more positive.
From 4 months to 24 months, and it handles all the sleep regressions, a few different types of sleep training techniques, and teaches you how to pick the one that would work best for you and your child.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. There's so many different ways you can do this. Like we were talking about the whole spectrum. So, you can pick something that's good for you and your family and for your child. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thanks for having me, Kelly.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. Please continue the conversation. We will be uploading this to our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, you should. We have all of our fun videos there. And please, you can follow Dr. Sarah Mitchell at Helping Babies Sleep as well. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.